Hi, everybody. This is Big Bill coming to you from YouTube Model Builders. Tonight, we're proud to present the second segment of Modeling Railroading Views. Tonight's topic is Youth in the Hobby. Our moderator for this show will be Miles Hale, and his guest panelist will be Ron Marsh from Ron's Trains and Things, Andy Crawford, of course you know, from YouTube Model Builders, Lloyd from MHO Junction, and Ralph Renzetti, the Mudfather. Tonight's show, again, is Youth in the Hobby, and thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Take care.
Starting my timer too. So last time when we came in and we were talking, we were getting into the social media, and Ralph asked for a rebuttal, and I'm going to give it to him here in about 2 seconds. But I didn't want to pick up with my teaser from last time. It's amazing to me that we are fighting the very elements that we have promoted for the last, I don't know, 80 years or whatever that the hobby has been popular, because it does not behoove Walters. It does not behoove any of the manufacturers to make what I think and what some of us talked about last time we need, and that's these apps. We need programs that are going to promote the hobby. Why does Woodland Scenics want to do that when what they need to do is sell kits and sell trees and all the things that we talked about before? So taking that realm and saying, okay, Woodland Scenics, we know that you're trying to sell stuff, but we want you to make an app that won't make anything except maybe you sell the app once. Walters, we know you're the biggest wholesaler in the country, but we don't care about that. We want you to make an app. We don't want people to buy things necessarily from you. So we are fighting the fact that for many, many decades now, we have tried to say we need more manufacturers, we need more products, we need more things in. And now all of a sudden, things are not really what's important to our hobby at this point. Getting people involved in the social media, which is the new realm of where people involve with anything, whether it be social media or family or whatever. I think we've got to get into that realm. And I said it last time, I think YouTube Model Builders, I think there's a lot of us who put videos out are in that realm. But getting these other entities that have the money and the power to come in, we're fighting the almighty buck. So at any rate, Ralph, I want to give you a rebuttal because you asked for one last time.
Okay. This is my friend Lloyd.
Okay.
You mentioned that my weathering video scared the hell out of you. I want to know why. Because the video itself was aimed at the beginner for weathering. I'm not saying a beginner to the railroading. Someone who wants to do some added things on their railroad, and it was meant to be simple. So how did it scare you?
Just in a few words, I thought that weathering, all you had to do is to throw some paint, and that's it.
This coming from a guy that most of the buildings on his layout are scratch built. I don't understand.
I guess it was just not my thing.
Let me address that for a second, because that's a problem that I have. If I'm going to build a building, I'll build a building that's as good as probably anybody else around. Mm-hmm. Not bragging. I mean, I do a good job of good, clean work. I'm scratch building a locomotive right now on my 3D printer. Here's my shell. It's 4 parts put together, and you can't see a seam or anything on here where I've glued them up. I'm pretty good at putting together a kit. But you want me to weather this? That's a different story. And I think there is a certain eye. You know, we talk about the artist's eye. I think it takes that a little bit in order to be able to do weathering and do it well. And I do not do it well. I cannot go into a scene like Malcolm Furlow does and throw stuff everywhere, and it's got a cartoon look, and everybody says, oh, gee, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? People walk into my layout and they say, wow, that's a really clean scene. Yeah, because I don't weather, okay?
But you do weather your structures, do you not?
Very little, if at all.
Well,
I mean, it's not my thing. I don't do it well. I don't make it.
I understand weathering is not everybody's choice, but it's one of the facets of the hobby
I'm
that.
With Lloyd. Yeah, I mean, we're off topic now, but that's why I build my buildings as photographic buildings. Mother Nature's done my weathering. I just take the photograph of what Mother Nature does and stick it on my layout.
Right. Hey, okay. So the other thing that I had was we talked about kits and so on, and getting these DPM kits and Woodland Scenics kits. Well, after working in the hobby store, most of the product that people wanted was the Woodland Scenics already built.
Yes.
Because of our fast-moving life, nobody wants or has the time to put things together. So they want it done for them.
Well,
the same with the locomotives. It's already put together. It's already done. The box cars.
In the same way that we are fighting the manufacturing world and the almighty dollar with what we're trying to do on YouTube, we are also fighting the fact that when I was in high school, and I admit it was in '64, but my parents never went to band practice. They never even came to see me play in the band. Now, if that parent comes, the kid or the parents or the whoever gets points for it. If he comes to the game, they get points for it, for sitting in the stands. I mean, how can you take time away when the parent says, I've got to give it to Johnny or Mary, and I don't want to take that kind of time away and hurt their career by me going down and playing with trains.
Yeah.
So,
well, but
we're fighting society.
It is a busy world, and we just have to live in it. And the hobby either has to adapt to it or suffer the compromises of that. And I think it has suffered some of the compromises of that. So first, I think, and I've got a point on the apps as well, because I think that's spectacular. But you've got, with like the Woodland Scenics Built and Ready, I think those are great. They engage a certain audience, no problem. I think it's just fine to be good or to speed your time, your limited amount of free time in the areas that you care most about. If that's building trees or weathering or doing something else, and you could buy the structures built if that's not your area of interest, or you could buy ready to roll rolling stock and you could scratch build your structures. You can balance the time versus that out. What we need to probably do for all modelers, again, as I said a few minutes ago, I think my target is toward all of us, that we do a disservice to the hobby with how we sell the hobby to other people. But we also sell the hobby incorrectly if we set a bad expectation. If we sell it to people in a way that weathering is easy, anybody can do it, here's how you do it. That is a very poor expectation, and people are going to think, well, I'm just not good at doing this hobby then, if that's the case. We need to recognize that some things just are hard, and we need to say that they are hard, but I'm going to get you past some of that and just say some of these things are just difficult, and they're just going to be difficult, and just put the time in and you'll get there.
The hard is in your head. If it's something you haven't done before, it's all in your head. It's practice. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. That's what you want to teach the kids. It's okay to make mistakes.
Sure.
I think
here
that's
I want you to weather this and let's see how it works out. And then we'll see it. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, we'll do another one until the kid develops.
Yeah, but the problem is the price. Like we said, people want to buy the top of the line $40, $50 car, and you're going to tell them to weather it.
I'm not telling them to do that.
No, I'm just saying
they're going to come to the quick reality.
Yeah, but they're going to want to weather it because they're going to look at your car or Ron's car and they go, okay, that's what I want. I want my cars to look like theirs. So I'm taking this $45 car and I screw it up. So that's what I'm just saying. It's scary, but there's ways around it. You know, like you don't have to weather it right away. We don't want to scare the people away.
That's the key.
Let me hit the point real quick now. I'll tell you a funny story, but it'll reiterate everything we're talking about. We went to a Woodland Scenics meeting, a staff meeting, and they were showing us their new product, which was the Built and Ready buildings. This was back a few years ago. And after it was all done, the CEO of Woodland Scenics looked over at Fran and he said, "What do you think of our new kits?" And Fran said, "Oh, man, they're a problem." He went berserk. He said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I now have to build every building that I put on the railroad like that. You've got it weathered. You've got details all over it. You've done all kinds of crazy things. You've added 3 times the amount of work to what I have to do to build a building to put on my railroad." And that's what you're speaking to. You can't just put that car out on the railroad. It's got to look, a little more realistic, a little more weathered. It just compounds on itself again and again. And here you are if I'm going to build a scratch built building, I'm competing with that building that Woodland Scenes puts out, or heaven forbid that I should compete with one of my photographic buildings that Mother Nature's done. I mean, I better be a darn good weather to even come close to what I've got in photographs in there. So anyway, yes, go ahead.
I think one of the things we have to be, and I think we're dancing around this, or maybe we're saying it, I'm just not hearing it, but I think we have to make people comfortable with the fact that it's okay to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we make them comfortable with that is by showing them, sometimes we make mistakes too. And that's one thing I've always done on my channel. If I'm doing a project on, for a video, if I mess it up, I'm going to tell you, hey, I messed this up. Don't do this because this didn't work. I think like Steve Brown, for example, I think that's one of the big draws of his channel because he just flat comes out and said, I'm a regular guy. That's his whole motto, regular guy thing. He hadn't been in model railroading very long. He's still learning a lot of stuff. And he's got some interesting things that he does, and he messes some stuff up, He literally had a video came out this weekend, and he was doing something. He said, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I think people are drawn to that because they're seeing something that they're learning from, and at the same time, they're not intimidated by it.
Yeah, I tried to
and
do
I think
the
there
same thing.
are a lot of places where you can go where you just get a lot of intimidation. Early on model railroading on the internet, forums, I got really burnt out on participating in forums because you got a lot of that just hypercriticism from people who thought pretty highly of their own abilities and not much of anybody else's. I think we got to get away from that and tell people it's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah,
just try it.
Andy, you're trying to jump in.
This speaks to every part of this problem. To my argument that we should explain things as some things as being difficult. It's setting the expectation. Whether you're the newer modeler or whether you're experienced, if we set expectations that we don't diminish people who are at a lower level of expectation or the ability to achieve that expectation, but we would do a better job of selling the hobby across the entire range of new to more experienced hobbyists if we would set the expectations realistically and not in a diminutive way. To say that some things are difficult is not to demean anyone. It takes many, many hours to be an expert at something. There's a concept called the 10,000 hours rules about this stuff. If you want to become good at something, you're going to have to put a lot of time into it. And it is doing someone a disservice to have them believe that they can get there without putting those hours in, that there's some secret to that success. It will take the time to put into it, but that's how I think we encourage other people coming into the hobby. Putting the time in is exactly what we enjoy about the hobby. And then one point before we go on is that the apps, to the manufacturers that may possibly be watching, no, if you give away an app about something, you are not necessarily selling a product, but you are making a modeler. And if you make more modelers, you will have more modelers to buy those products. That's critically important.
Currently, there's only 2 apps that I know of. Woodland Scenics has one for doing scale measurements and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is the Digitrax Toolbox that helps you choose a decoder for your DCC locomotives or whatever you want. And it goes by manufacturer and scale.
I thought somebody was doing a design app, aren't they?
There's several. There's probably around 30 or so if you search for Model Railroad in the iTunes or in the Apple ecosystem. There's also a lot of simulation and gameplay apps that a lot of the more experienced modelers have kind of looked down their nose at those things. But I think they are a great way to engage people as an entry into the hobby if we would not separate ourselves into the layout builders and the gamers and just recognize we are one community.
Embrace.
Exactly. And if you are into the simulation, if you're playing Microsoft's trade simulator, great. By all means, do that. Enjoy it. Tell me about it. It's an exciting thing that I'm personally not that interested in exactly, but it's a great entry into doing more things with a hobby when you decide you want to do something that's more hands-on.
See, Andy, you talk about gamers. The kids today like games on iPhones, iPads, or computer. Now, if you could just teach the kids that if you've got a 2x6 layout, which is a puzzle, and get them to play or solve the puzzle physically instead of on their iPhone, they'd get more interested in.
And Bachman has done something really spectacular in that area. The Blue Rail system that they have, a Bluetooth interaction between the phone directly to the locomotive. Again, a lot of us kind of sneer at that, but they've gamified railroad operation where there is some gaming elements to it, and then it starts rather simple with gaming elements that are not very realistic or prototypical. But if you have already engaged them and already have them using the phone with a locomotive, how much easier is it to get them to do prototypical style switching if they're already engaged doing it? It's a good entry point into it. It's a way to engage and to bring the gaming elements. And it's the phone. That's right, Miles. It's in their head.
I just looked them up, and you're right. I've got one here that's I Run Trains, the 3D Model Railroads app.
Yep.
There's Model Railroad Set, Train Builder Kit. There's all kinds of them here. All I did was type in Model Railroad apps. So there are several of them out there where people can go and construct a railroad and then operate on them. And I think we need more of that. More the merrier. And
absolutely.
Right. Once we got them hooked, once they like the model railroading, who knows where they're going to take it to the basement or take it to the garage or whatever next.
What even better is if we get them enjoying the social aspects. So if they start with the gaming angle of it, and then they start interacting with other people like us that are not that don't look down on those, but who start talking about them, who ask them about it, who engage with them, who we try to understand what they've learned from that. We start talking about railroading at large, even though their entry into it was through the simulation side. We start talking about it railroading at large. We get the opportunity to interact with them in a way that may encourage them to do more realistic prototype rail fanning and then eventually modeling. So if we could get them on the gamer side, introduce them to it, and then get them to enjoy the social aspects of engaging with us as opposed to pushing them aside, I think the opportunity for this hobby to explode and be bigger than it ever was, even in the 1960s, is entirely there. It's just that our sales pitch has not been as good as it could be. I won't say it's been bad. There's just a lot more opportunity for us to improve it.
And to Ron's point about the demographics of his viewing audience, if you take a look now at the successful get-togethers, it's the prototype modelers. It's the younger people from 50 to 20 or so that are coming in. It's not a competition. They get a space on the table that they can put their models down, and people come by and say, how are you doing this, or what are you doing, and they share information. It's not a contest. It's not a I'm better than you are, or I got more than you've got, or anything else. It's a sharing of concepts and of abilities and of talents and of techniques. And I think that's, if there's going to be an interaction, if there's going to be a convention, if there's going to be a get-together, it needs to be that free-sharing, non-competitive, non-judgmental platform. And that's where I think the prototype modelers have got it over the NMRA and some of the other maybe meets as such, where they have competitions and contests. And I mean, it's just, I think the prototype modelers are much more down the road in that direction.
Oh, I think that's the best future of our show. The best future of our hobby, I think, is exemplified in the RPM shows.
Yeah. And also, ironically enough, the narrow gauge railroaders, which I go to, absolutely fantastic, because they also go no contest. Everything is judged by the viewers who would come in. They're not going down the sheet and critiquing and all that kind of stuff. They're just picking, and I think that's a great thing. And I think that's a great point for us to cut it off again. And hopefully we're teasing everybody a little bit again to come back, and maybe we'll have a few more things to say about how to keep people in the hobby and get them into the hobby moving forward. So thanks to everybody for watching, and come back again.
Hi, this is Big Bill coming to you from YouTube Model Builders. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion tonight that we presented to you. Please tune in next Friday after 3 p.m. when we will post another discussion on model railroad views. Thank you for watching. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you on the radio.